This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the RhinstoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank. All right. Well, welcome into the show. It is Friday, September 16th, 2022. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. Today, as you can tell, I'm not in my usual studio here. I'm at the Graphics Pro Expo here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and coming off the high of emceeing Start Here Academy last night. It was fantastic. I can share a little bit about it in just a second here, but we're gonna do a host show. We've got Eric in the wings in case hotel internet doesn't play nicely with me, but so far so good. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, but we're going to talk about some of these pitfalls to avoid as a startup. Right. And so with that being said, again, Eric, please stay on standby.
Don't wander away.
Yeah, that's
you never
right.
do.
Yep. So Terry, why don't I start with some news items that I can kind of fill you guys in on the Start Here Academy too, if that's
sounds good. Absolutely. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, would you mind actually sharing the news item, and then I can just talk about Charlotte?
Sure.
Perfect.
Sure. CorelDRAW, a global company, a technology company, maker of CorelDRAW graphic suite, has announced that it is undergoing a full rebrand, including a new name, Aludo. I believe that's the way it's pronounced. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
So there it is. Yeah. So according to the company, the rebranding is part of its commitment to reimagine the future of work, not just where people work, but also how, when, and even why they work. The new name Aludo is said to represent a cohesive identity and a nod to the company's purpose to empower all you do. With this purpose in mind, Aludo says it will continue to focus on growth organically and through mergers and acquisitions. So yet another, we could have a weekly announcement about name changes, mergers, acquisitions.
Seems to be fast and furious right now. And Eric in the comments there said the pronunciation has been contentious in the design world already because of the all you do. So all you do, all you do.
I didn't even get that. I read it and I didn't even get it.
So interesting. Yeah. And I've seen Clay and David from CorelTrainer.com, and I have not had a chance to talk to them about it yet. So I will, maybe I'll corner them. I'm all set up. I'm going to actually record some stuff in the booth over there at Graphics Pro today and tomorrow. And so I'll just corner them. I'll sit them down in the blow up couch and I'll say, hey, what do you think about this name change? Are you going to have to go buy Aludo or whatever it is?
All you do.
Trainer.com, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know how those guys hate to talk. Oh wait, no. That won't be good.
Yeah, they were part of the Start Here Academy last night, and all of the sponsors got 10 minutes each to share, and I had to go up on stage and remove David. So it was not physical. It was all good. It was fun. So
I actually saw him post a picture. I didn't realize that's where he was. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Well, let me share with you about kind of the Start Here Academy, if that's okay. Is it a good time to do that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, so Start Here Academy here at Graphics Pro Expo. It's something that actually Ruggs, who we've talked to, had on the show before. He has been working on this as a concept for over 3 years. We had this little thing called COVID that kind of waylaid it a little bit, but so finally able to pull it off. And the idea was to have a space, have a event where people that are, starting up, where people that are kind of coming from that maker space, hobby space. I've heard it termed prosumer space. Eric has and so I'm not I don't want to steal that from Eric, but Eric talks about
and
that.
Eric, is that the way it's pronounced?
Getting some laughs in the background. I love it. So, that kind of space, but there was also people there that, had been in business for a little while. Right. And the thing that I presented about was that startup mentality, which we're going to talk a little bit more about today. So it was really cool. And they had 500 people register. And because everybody got food and drinks and stuff too. So they had to know like who was all going to actually be there. These events that cost nothing to the attendees, you normally get big signups and then smaller actual showing up.
Right.
So they actually did a calling campaign before and had about 85% RSVP response rate. So they set up the room for 380 people. And there was only a couple of seats. The very first picture I took was before we even got started. And then I didn't have time to take any more pictures. So the one that you maybe saw from David on my Facebook page, that one, it was a little more representative, but I didn't get an exact head count, but I would say north of 350 people in there.
That's incredible. That's an awesome turnout.
Yeah. And then, great sponsorships, great support from all of the companies that were there and there to support it. And then, so the idea was have that space, have these conversations where, where the sponsors got an opportunity to share. But when the sponsors were sharing, it was really cool because they all shared like, how it wasn't like, here's my product, you should come buy it, blah, blah, blah. And technically they could have done that. But I think they all showed up in a huge way and gave really good information as like, here's some things that you should be thinking of as you're getting started, or here's, kind of the space that we're experts in. So that was, a big part of it. And then the other real big part of it was there were 3 influencers. I don't know why the name just escaped me there, but 3 influencers, which we were able to get 2 of them on the show. We had Lisa Potts and Stan Banks on the show with us. And we efforted several times with Eve, but I got to meet Eve finally. Amazing lady. So, and gave an incredible presentation.
She was there for the whole event.
Yep, she was, and she's going to actually be around at the show. I'm going to talk to her. So I will actually get to talk to her for 2 regular guys tomorrow. We'll just record some content that we can play at a later time. And so anyways, the point being, it was so cool to listen to them share, right? And really just sharing their journey. So one of the things that I talked about as, kind of we were transitioning between people was to really look at this as like emulation, right? Inspiration. This is what I want you guys to take from this. And so it was really cool to have that experience. And nobody booed me off stage. I did have a dad joke. It was a cartoon, actually. It wasn't a dad joke. I said, okay, I'm going to spare you guys the dad jokes. Any of you that listen to 2 regular guys know that we do the dad joke. So tune in tomorrow morning for that, which coming soon, everybody, don't worry. But I had a cartoon and it was avocado affirmations. And it was a picture of an avocado sitting in front of a mirror saying, you're fat, but you're a good fat. So.
That's hilarious.
Thank you. So anyways, so yeah, I guess just to give people a quick update, that was kind of what it was all about. Like I said, they fed us, food was fantastic, drinks, lots of great networking, pictures and hugs, and people that had known each other on the internet that, got a chance to meet in person. And here's another interesting thing I'll share to kind of close this part of it, Terry. Throughout kind of ask questions when we were in transition to kind of find out more about the audience. And one of the questions that I asked was how many people, this is the first time that you've ever been to a Graphics Pro Expo show. And 85% at least raised their hand. Wow. And I said, okay, how many of you have never been to any industry show? 75%. I mean, we only a couple hands came down from that. So these are all new people that had never been to a trade show before. And you've mentioned that, Terry, right? Lots of people have gotten into this business and they didn't even have a chance to. So you're definitely seeing that.
For a couple of years. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And I know some of you guys that have been in the business for a little while, like, oh, great, more competition, blah, blah, blah. It was so cool. People, they seem to want to be doing it right. They're learning from building a good foundation. I truly believe that the rising tide is going to lift the boats, and this influx of people, because it's just an awareness, right? A lot of them are creating content, so there's more awareness around all the cool things we can do, and so, you know, they're doing some social media for you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and there's plenty of business to go around, and you know, the people I know that get into this business are very niche anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, because people say, so does anybody in Fresno have a direct to garment machine? I'm like, lots of people do, but you'll never know about it because they're in the car market, or they're in the youth apparel market, or they're in this market or that market. So, you know, and it's that fear of competition. But you're right, Aaron, there's plenty to go around. So
Totally.
Deliver on time,
do good work. I've heard that from somebody before.
I know.
Pretty smart guy too.
It's going to be on my tombstone. That or a dad joke.
Here lies Terry
maybe
Combs.
this dad joke. It's a t-shirt joke.
Yes. All right. So it'll be, here lies Terry Combs. Always said, do good work, deliver on time. And by the way, dad joke. Okay.
This is some funny. Let's see how it holds this up to the test of time. That's what it'll say on my tombstone. All right, you ready?
All right. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
You've prepped us for it. We're ready.
Yeah. Aaron, did you know that the word t-shirt is actually short for Tyrannosaurus shirt?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's because of the short arms. Hey, and it got the seal of approval from Eric. He's nodding his head yes.
Wow. I'm the one shaking my head on this one. That's unbelievable.
I was torn between calling it the Tyrannosaurus shirt or the T-Rex shirt, but anyway.
I think Tyrannosaurus. I think getting it all the way out, I think really makes it deliver a little bit better.
Well, everybody out there shaking your head, you're going to be telling that to somebody because you're already in the industry, and we don't get very many t-shirt dad jokes. So
there you go. So there's your t-shirt dad joke, Terry. Good job. Thank you.
All
for
right.
That. We all needed it.
Yep. Aaron, before we go any further, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And of course, we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening. We are everywhere, thanks to Aaron. And then if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and questions and your thoughts on pitfalls for startup businesses.
Yes, please do that. Please join us. Regulators showing up today is going to be really important. So Terry, before we dive into this, let's actually, if you don't mind, let's go back and oh boy. Yeah. I said, let's go back and talk to some of the regulators, but we've got follow-up dad jokes. So I don't know if we want to do that. And
let's hear what they have to say.
Yes. Todd says that joke sort of fit like a Gildan. So
wow. I'm sure he meant perfectly.
Yeah. And then Mr. Ortolani says, tuned in just in time for the T-Rex dad joke. Good. Glad you can make it.
James is definitely one of the people that's going to be repeating that joke.
Yeah, I agree. Kim Johnson didn't have anything really to say, more of just a kind of what I did, just a little head slap. So
I believe when I read it to her yesterday, she said something along the lines of, "That's stupid."
I cannot see Kim. Oh no, I totally can see Kim saying that. And then Dean said, "Deliver on time." Are you talking about the warehouses?
Ouch!
Supply warehouses.
Well, everybody's throwing some darts today.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so we've got some other folks much earlier checking in that I just want to say hi to real quick. We've got Yosta tuning in from Sweden. We've got Rich checking in. Hello. We've got Charles. Good morning, Charles. Charles, good to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing well. I sent you an email and it bounced back. So glad to see you. I was like, oh no, I must have had it wrong. So anyhow, I hope you're doing well.
Blocked. You're blocked.
And then my buddy Doug Quinn. Terry, you remember our time with Doug Quinn in Atlantic City?
Yeah.
He's recommending the Velvet Taco. So I'm here in Charlotte, and apparently that's the place to go get some tacos. So I'm going to try to get there tonight. We'll see how that goes. All right. We've got Sandy checking in this morning. Hello, Sandy. We've got Barb from North Central Minnesota. Good morning. And let's see here. What do we got? Yep. Cindy was in and out. Mr. David Gross checking in with us. Good morning, David. Let's see. All right. So I think we've covered most of it here. Let's happy Friday, Kristen. Thank you. That's the point. Good one, Eric. All right. All right. Well, I'm all over the place, Terry, as you can tell. So
hey, Aaron, you were busy working last night, so I just wanted to remind you, just in case you didn't know, how about them Chiefs? First game on Prime, Amazon Prime TV, and came out with a win, 2-0, number one in the AFC West.
I did see that. I didn't watch the game. No, I was definitely done. It was such a cool event last night, but being on for 5 hours, even a crazy guy like me has a hard time with that. So we got Terry with his Chiefs hat. So so I did see the everybody talking about it this morning. I got up and turned on the ESPN there this morning. So
I'll just say a W is a W. That's
right.
That's my response to all those people's comments.
Got it. All right. Well, Terry, are we ready to dive into this?
Let's do.
Okay. All right. Well, and Terry did a great job kind of putting this together. I've been so crazy kind of being on the road here that I relied very heavily on Terry here. So thank you, Terry, first and foremost. And because I know this is my thing, right? This is what our success group does. And so before we get into
my notes were really just in case me and Eric had to do this show without you.
No, I totally get it. And it's perfect. You actually hit all the nails on the head. But real quick before, I'm going to back up just one step before we get into this, because what we're talking about today is the pitfalls of a startup, right? And what some things that we can avoid. And we 100% want to get into the actual nuts and bolts and some concrete things that we got to watch for. And even established businesses need to kind of go back and I look at business building as a cycle, right? So we want to go from that startup into, trying things out, into experience, kind of reaping the benefits. Now let's get back that startup mentality, change some things, try some things out, experience, reap the benefits. So if you can kind of see how that cycle goes. And so let me back up real quick. One of the things, or I guess I actually shared 3 things last night that I felt were really important for the startup mentality. And again, this is for everybody, because if you're a brand new business, or if you've been in business for 20, 30, 40 years, right, we need to kind of always come back to this cycle of what can we do new? How can we improve, right? And how can we grow? So the 3 things that I shared, and I'm going to have to try to remember them off the top of my head here. No, I think I've got it right. First and foremost is we have to conquer fear, right? We have to get over those fear. Everything we want is right outside of our comfort zone. So the fear of the thing you need to do, the fear of getting online, the fear of making the call to the customer, the fear of returning the call to the upset customer, all of those things are fears that we know we need to do, but we've got fear holding us back. So we just got to come up with a way to kind of overcome that. The second part here is to be a goal getter, not a goal setter. Right? Goal getters believe that it's possible. Right? The saying kind of goes, I'll believe it when I see it. Right? But the reality is you will only see it after you believe it. You have to believe it's possible. So I could say, I'm going to be $1 million business this year. But if you can't, somewhere deep down inside of you believe that that's actually possible, see the steps, right? So the way that we do that is we set a goal. We want to reach high. We want to go for something big and that's outside of our comfort zone. But then we set milestones that allow us to have that belief. Okay. So let's say, like I said, I wanted to be $1 million business, right? I want to be $100,000 business, whatever it is for you. but let's just say $1 million business. Okay, cool. I believe I can do that, but I don't have that deep down in my core. But you know what? I believe that I can go get 10 new customers in the next 3 months, right? So I set that milestone. And once I've set that milestone, I can fully 100% believe that I can do that. I've done it before, or, it seems feasible. And then I get to that stage, and now I kind of reevaluate, right? And till you get to that stage where your actual ultimate goal is 100% believable by you. So that's number 2, is that being a goal getter, not just a goal setter. And then the last bit here is to take action. And this is always the missing piece. I don't know. I'm sure I've told this story. So Kim Johnson, you can get us to me now too. But when I got into the success principles stuff, what started me there was watching this movie called The Secret. So if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. It's kind of interesting. What they did was they tried to make a best-selling movie, right? And so if you watch the movie The Secret, it's fantastic. But I think a lot of people watch it and they go, oh, well, then all I have to do is just have really positive mental capacity, and the law of attraction is going to go to work for me, and I'm going to get everything I want. I'm just going to sit around on my couch and think positively, and it'll be great. And that's a good start. But the reality is that the part that's missing from that movie is that you have to take action, right? It's kind of talked about a little bit in there, but they kind of gloss over that part, So it's all about kind of taking the action and just continuously moving forward each and every day, taking one step forward, not just, okay, I'm going to try. So like the more actions that you can take, it has nothing to do with if they're the exact right action or not. Right? As long as you're kind of moving in a general direction forward, because here's what happens. Once you take the action, you get a result. Once you get that result gives you feedback. You get feedback from that result. Once you get feedback, then you can make a better decision the next time. Therefore, if you go tie that back to the action at the beginning, right? That action at the beginning is the only way that you're going to grow, because you need feedback to be able to learn. We can go take in, go watch all 468 Two Regular Guys podcast episodes. But if you don't do anything with any of the information that you hear throughout the course of that time, it's not worth anything. So those are the 3 things, Terry, that be a goal getter, conquering fear, and then the last part there, taking action. So
awesome.
That get us the right mindset, at least.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
you're right. But you're right. There's everybody has a business idea in the back of their head. Everybody's thinking about doing something like that.
Yeah.
It's just you got to take that first step and do it. And
Yeah.
once you become an entrepreneur, it's hard not to be an entrepreneur in some way after that. So
Correct. Yeah. But it is that first step, and I know it can be scary, right? And it's not for the faint of heart, right? Especially in our industry, the electricity, how many people go out of business is pretty high, right? I mean, you've got some of these supply companies that are getting tons and tons of new customers a day, but what the dirty little secret that I don't tell you is that their active customer base doesn't really fluctuate a whole lot, right? So if you're getting a whole bunch of new customers a day as a supplier of some of these, equipment and supplies for these startup companies, and you're getting all those new customers, but your active customer base is not growing that much, what does that mean, right? That means that they're also losing that many customers a day. And I don't believe that it's because their service is bad or anything like that. It's the reality is Terry, you've had the same experience. I'm 100% sure, right? You've talked to somebody at a show, maybe you've sold a piece of equipment, they come back the next year and they haven't even used it yet, right? And then,
absolutely.
Then the next year they come back and still trying to get it going. And then the next year they don't come back, right? Because they're probably done. They're probably moved on or whatever. And that's okay. But how do we, what can we do to help people kind of bridge that gap between excitement, that passion of being that newbie, that startup, into reality slapping you in the face and overcoming that that hill that you have to climb. So
yeah, and also, I want to do this. I don't know where to start. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do I do first?
Yeah, exactly. So from that, right, let's get into some of those eye-opening things, right? So let's talk about some of the common pitfalls. And again, you've put together a fantastic list here. So let's start right with number one there, if you don't mind.
The legal
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, please.
And let me give you an example. I'll have somebody who's trying to get a lease for $20,000.
Yeah.
And they say, well, I've been in this business for 7 years, but when the lease company talks to them, they say, well, no, I've never actually registered with my state. Well, the lease company's like, well, so you're a brand new business. Well, no, I've been in business for 7 years, but you didn't take the steps that you need to take. So irs.gov is where you get your EIN number, your employee identification number. A lot of your, and it's free, by the way. Just go there, irs.gov, if you don't have that. And there are suppliers out there that are going to ask you for that number. If you start paying employees, you need that number, and it's easy to do. In your state, you need to register as a business in your state, and keep this in mind. Your state wants you to be successful. Why? Because you're going to be collecting sales tax. You're going to be paying tax to that state. They want to make it easy for you. So, just go in and Google starting a business in Arizona or Idaho or wherever you are, and you can get all the information about registering your business. And then the last is your local community. Some local communities don't care. They don't require you to have a business license. When I lived in Fountain Hills, Arizona, I had to pay $35 a year because of my writing business. I had to register my business that I was writing for all the magazines and stuff like that. But it was just simply a matter of reaching out to them. They sent me a form, gave me the instructions. Don't park a company vehicle that's in front of your house. It was a one-page thing about making Fountain Hills aesthetically pleasing. But it's pretty easy, and so your federal, your state, and then in a lot of localities. And by the way, if you your local community, if they want you to register your business, they're going to ask you what kind of business you're in. And most of us are in light manufacturing. That's what screen printing is. That's what embroidery is. That's what most decorating businesses would be considered light manufacturing. So when you're scratching your head on what do I put on this line, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because anybody that's taking a blank product and decorating it, putting something on it, or embellishing it in whatever way, you're exactly right. Light manufacturing is so let me also talk about that, right, Terry? Because in what we do with our success group, I do get this question all the time. When should I, right? When should I, go start my business? When should I get that EIN? When should I go register with my state? And my answer to them all the time, and I always preface it obviously with, talk to your accountant about the details of it, because each location is going to be a little bit different. But the reality is, the first time you plan to take money from somebody for a product, you should have that business stuff in place. Right? I mean, it's just, so if you really have a business, and again, I'm not talking down to anybody that doesn't have this in place, right? I mean, sadly enough, my being the son of an accountant to CPA, you guys have all heard that plenty of times. I was working for different companies and stuff like that, but like Terry, right, I'm doing writing and stuff like that. So I've technically had Montco Consulting since, I don't know, I think it was 2009 when I actually first put it out there, put it on my LinkedIn page, right? But like Terry talked about, right, I didn't do the stuff that I needed to go get all that stuff. And so when it was time to get a lease, right, I'm like, well, I've been in business since 2009. And they're like, nope, exactly what. I'm like, yep, you're right. Sorry. Yep. And
according to the state of Arizona, that is not true.
Now, fortunately for me, I was, though, with my tax returns, filing a Schedule C for that. And so I was able to, but it would have been a lot easier if I just would have done what I needed to do. So yes, go is if you have not done that yet and you plan to sell anything to anybody, friend, family, whatever, like Terry said, the federal side, it's completely free. Most states, it's not really costly because, again, like Terry mentioned, they want to try to make it as easy as possible for you because they know they'll get the tax revenue from it. And then you're going to actually be able to buy products cheaper because you will have that resale sales tax license, whatever your state calls it. And then again, you'll also be able to purchase things from companies that you're going to decorate and not pay the sales tax on it.
Exactly.
You can give them a form, and most states have a form that you can fill out and give them that form, and then they should not charge you the sales tax because you're going to be collecting the sales tax from the end user. So,
right.
Really good point. Now, let's make sure that we're clear for legal reasons. Neither Terry or I are accountants or lawyers or CPAs or any of that stuff. Like I said, my father was a CPA, is no longer a practicing CPA. So that's as close as we're going to get. But we've both been involved in around businesses long enough that we can share some things. Ultimately, for you, when it comes like, oh, should I do an LLC or blah, 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 you really got to talk to somebody that is an expert in your local area. And then they can look at your situation, right? Your situation is going to be different. I originally went out and set up as just a standard LLC and should have talked to my accountant first because a couple of years later we were looking at things and honestly, I did not set up the exact right scenario for me. I had to, it fortunately was easy enough, but we changed to an LLC that was an S corporation. So just based on my wife and I. So there we go. We could go way into the weeds on that, but I think we covered that pretty good. What's the next one, Terry?
Yeah. Well, filling in the gaps. And my point here was you might be a great artist, but you might not be great at selling or you might be an accountant, but you might not be great at creating that graphic to put onto a garment. So you need to find ways to fill in those gaps. And obviously one of those ways is by hiring people that are good at those things. Yeah. But you don't have to put them on the payroll either. You can contract a lot of this kind of thing, especially accounting services and things like that. You can find folks who are out there selling products and take on your line to sell. When I was in Kansas City, I think we had 17 sales reps. None of them worked for Jones & Mitchell Sportswear where I was. They were all independent sales reps. They carried lines of clothing. In that particular case, it was in the college bookstore market. So these sales reps would go into a bookstore and they had the Jones & Mitchell Sportswear line. They also had a line of other products, jackets, hats, license plate frames, things like that. So their opportunities are out there, and especially today. And Kim earmuffs. I've told this story before. When my daughter had her screen printing business, she had an artist that she never met face to face. She got reached out to him through a supplier because she asked her supplier, "Hey, do you know any artists?" And they just communicated back and forth via email and phone. And he would create the art. She'd say, "Okay, make this change, make that change." He'd send it back to her again. She had output the separations, and life was good. So. Even though she was a very artistic person, she was also a college student at the time. So it was just easier to have that contract person. And she just paid a flat fee per finished piece of artwork. So he had his business selling artwork, and she was just his customer. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, in today's day and age, you can fill in those gaps pretty easily, pretty quickly. And in the grand scheme of things, fairly inexpensively too, right? I mean, I've got a virtual assistant that helps me out, kind of just cleaning up the loose ends and stuff. And it's fantastic. And I've, she lives in Nigeria, so I've never met her, but she's an amazing person. And is there to help. And she's always been very grateful. And, certainly wish that I could pay her more, but someday we'll get there, right? And so, but in the meantime, she's been fantastic, and it works for her too, right? So it kind of works out. Let's hit a couple of the Regulators comments here. Miller had mentioned a little bit earlier there. He says, I don't own a shop. I'm a broker who has a team of other brokers and graphic designers with me. I do a lot of high-end cut and sew work with global factories and have local screen print shops that do my screen printing, right? So that's exactly, you can have a great business right there and not actually having to do the work in the physical nature of it, right? And so filling in the gaps, that's awesome, Miller. And then Ramona said a little bit earlier, says what's great about the information is it's relevant to all businesses, not just the garment decorating community. Yeah, totally true. So let's answer your question real quick. Do you have to have one in every state, like rock band gigs? No, you don't. You have to have, you're supposed to have sales tax, use tax in any place where you have a physical presence. There's been lots and lots of talk and lots of, this internet tax, I guess is what they kind of call it around here, where they, trying to collect sales tax if you're selling on the internet, but it has not gone through here in the States. So right now it's still, wherever you have a physical presence. So if you have, if you're working from your home or if you have multiple locations and that kind of thing. So,
looks like it's almost time to have an accountant on the show to talk about these things.
Probably not a bad idea, actually. There you go. Let's make note of that. I don't have my notebook in front of me, so somebody will remind me. We'll do that.
I do have my junior yellow legal
is there
pad.
A junior yellow legal pad around anyone? All right. Ramona also said, I have 3 independent contractors on my books that help in shop when things get too busy. And my bookkeeper, they all get 1099s every year. Yep, exactly. Not on payroll. And you just send them a 1099 and then they're responsible for their own taxes and whatnot. So let's see. What's Miller sharing here? Miller says, I find big bottlenecks middlemaning through print shops. And one of my print shops won't hook into our system and API. So it's hard communicating. Any thoughts on making things smoother? Okay. Let me think on that one for a bit here. Anything that came to the top of your mind there? It's like, the first thing that comes to my mind, Terry, is, is there somebody else out there that could do it? Right.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what popped into my head too, is that if they, companies have to kind of progress with the way business is being done. And if they're old school, don't want to do that, there's probably somebody who does. There's sure a lot of contract decorators out there that are looking for work. So
yeah, and it's a looking for work and willing to get the technology up to speed, right? Again, there are, like you said, some older school people that I've got my paper forms that I write my orders in and the 3 ring binders and all that stuff. And nothing wrong with that. But if you're, again, trying to make the systems work and hooking in through systems and APIs.
And working with other companies, like, rather than selling directly to the end user, the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. So I know, I've been in that space, right? That part is a big part of it. How do you manage the orders and get everything to the right places at the right time? And the technology and the software is out there. A great software tool, I don't know if it's software necessarily, however you would call it, but a tool that I've always been really fond of is a thing called orderdesk.me. It's kind of a nice middle tool that brings a lot of things together and can kind of send from one place to another and kind of be that traffic light, so to speak, I guess. But yeah, I would say, Miller, my number one recommendation would see, if they're not willing to do that, then maybe it's time to, maybe they broke the chain. Maybe it's time to look for somebody else. I know my wife does a lot of print on demand type stuff for some companies. And one of the big things that has been useful for them is that we make it really easy, right? We do hook into their systems and we're just getting orders directly from their systems and taking care of everything and working in the background for them. So it's
And,
pretty.
and that is true on so many levels when you're running a business. Make it easy to buy. Make it easy to have a relationship the easier you can make it, the more locked in that customer is with you, or that vendor is with you.
Nice. Yep. I totally agree. Totally agree, Terry. All right. Well, a couple more comments and then we'll keep going here. I like Mark's comment here because it's funny at the end. It says, always best to get all government registrations done early. Asking forgiveness rarely works with government agencies or spouses. So true point. And then Dean, Terry's yellow legal pads are kind of his signature thing now. I don't think I could change that. I don't even think he knows what a rocket book is. So Terry?
I think I do, but
Oh.
yeah, I'm a writer. I like the texture of pen and paper.
I know. Yeah. All right.
I've got 2 computers on my desk. Damn it!
Look at you go.
But
all right, Mr. Picker here, Jeremy Picker says, I focus on design, dev, and customer service, and partner with manufacturers and let them shine at their skills. I know a lot of shops crap on contract brokers, but most shops don't have that capacity. Yeah, I think focusing on what you're good at, this point that you bring up, Terry, for a lot of newbies, they want to do everything themselves. Knock it off.
Really.
Focus on what you're good at, stay really good at that, and then find other people to fill in those gaps will be the fastest way to success. The other way will be the fastest way to having hairlines like myself and Terry and pulling your hair out, right? So, all right. There you go. Eric, thanks for sharing the link there, orderdesk.com. I thought it was orderdesk.me, but check that out. Sorry. I should have said that. All right. Well, what's the next one, Terry?
Well, pricing your products and I guess maybe the next one also included know your overhead. How much does it really cost you to make an item and keep the lights on? So, Aaron, I'm going to toss that back to you because I know you do a lot of consulting on proper pricing of your products.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Eric, for double G. Dumb on me. I should have known you double checked it. My fault. All right. Yeah, Terry, thank you for that. I think it's interesting because you hit it right on the head. I looked at that. I'm like, yeah, those kind of go together because everybody thinks pricing is, there's some magic formula, right? Which please do not do that. If somebody tells you, if you go, first and foremost, don't go ask other people how you should price your product, because how Terry prices his product and how I price my product and how Eric prices his product, we could all be selling the exact same thing and have completely different pricing and completely different pricing needs, right? And yet we'd all still have plenty to make money and do that. And so you've got to understand that first. So if you're out there kind of going, what do you price your product for? Or, and then somebody comes back and says, well, you just 3x your cost. Please don't. Please don't. I just want to eradicate that. Or,
I think I read that on the internet, Aaron. So it's
it's
true.
It's, everything on the internet's true if you want to fail in business. And, or I think Eric's probably heard this one a bazillion times, $1 per 1,000 stitch. If you're an embroiderer with that crud. I had somebody that was doing 25 cents per 1,000 stitch and couldn't figure out why they were so busy, but yet couldn't get ahead, weren't making any money. I don't know. But anyhow, so yeah, when it comes to pricing, one of the most important things, and this is where, in a lot of ways, why we started our success group, because we saw this as a big failure point. And what happens for people is they're creatives, right? People in our industry are creatives. They enjoy the process, right? Maybe they are coming from that crafting kind of hobby kind of side of things. And they just love making. They love their community, all that stuff. So a spreadsheet and numbers and that gets them making them feel bad. But the reality is we have to know how much it costs us to run our business before you can price anything. I've been fortunate enough for the 20 some odd years that I've been in this industry to be involved in pricing of products, not only for the companies that I worked for, but helping other people with their pricing. And, everybody's looking for that easy magic bullet, and you can get there if you do the work in advance, right? So what we do with our success group is we look at how much it costs you to just open your doors each day and get that down to an hourly rate. That includes paying yourself and planning for the future, right? So if you're ever going to need a new piece of equipment, you need to kind of build that into your pricing. You should be able to. One of the questions that got asked last night at the Start Here Academy, because Eve, I think it was, it was asked of Eve, because she was talking about when she upgraded into this next tool. I can't remember exactly what the tool was. And one of the questions was, well, how did you know when to do that? And she said, when my business paid for it, right? I didn't want to go into debt. So if you're not planning for that kind of things in the future, your business will never be able to pay for that upgraded piece of equipment. So point being, know your numbers, and then you'll be able to price your product, because once you know your numbers, then you can make it that easy, formulaic, what's the profit margin you're looking for. We actually build it in such a way that you've got, we call it a guardrail. As long as you're as long as you quote unquote break even, you're technically making money because you're paying yourself and you're planning for the future. So from there, then it's just about the perceived value of the product, right? Like I said, me, you, and Eric could all be selling the exact same thing, and we could all be getting drastically different prices because of the market that we're selling to, right? And I don't know, Gary, how many times, if you've actually counted, maybe you've got a yellow legal pad somewhere with the tally marks of how many times people have said to you, well, I can't get that in my area. Nobody will pay that price.
I hear it all the time in my town. You can't get more than $5 for a t-shirt. And of course, my response, Aaron, well, you're talking to the wrong people. Exactly. Because somebody in your town is paying $20 for that same shirt.
Exactly.
But
that's exactly what I say in response to that too. Something similar to that. But here's what I say when somebody says, "Oh, I can only get that in my town." Oh, really? So nobody in your town has a pair of Nike shoes, or nobody in your town has a designer handbag? Yeah. And they look at me like, what? I'm like, yeah, Nike shoes. You can go to Walmart and get the Velcro, shoes. The utility is is such that you don't have to pay what you'd pay for a pair of Nike shoes. You don't have to pay what you'd pay for a designer handbag. But people want that stuff, right? Because it's not just about the cost. It's not just about the $5 t-shirt. It's about what it represents for them. People are exchanging value. They have no clue. Most of our customers have zero clue what it actually costs to make a shirt. Heck, half the decorators don't know what it costs them to actually make that shirt. So, exactly right. So your price should not be based on, oh, well, I got to be the cheapest in town. We're in an industry with what we do, Terry, that if you're trying to be the cheapest in town, you better have the deepest pockets of anybody, because think about what it is that we do. We're not selling a commodity. We're actually taking a product and we're embellishing it. We're not adding any actual utility value to it, right? By putting the OSG thing on my shirt here, that doesn't make the shirt any different as far as, it's still a long sleeve button down shirt, right? So we're not changing the utility of the shirt. We're not changing the commodity value of the shirt. We're changing the perceived value of the shirt. It means more to me. It's my company logo. It helps my brand get recognized, that kind of thing. So, I think one of the biggest problems I see new people making with pricing is they just don't believe in themselves enough to get what they need to get to be successful.
I was just going to say that. It's not people in your town won't pay more than $5. You don't think what you're selling is worth more than $5. That's the real issue. It's all in your head. For podcast listeners, I'm pointing at my head.
I love it. All right, Terry. Well, let's get to the last one here, and I want to kind of lead you into this one, because this is your area to shine. And before, so the last bit here that we've got is kind of the production time, how much it actually takes you to produce a product. And before I let you loose on this, it's really interesting to me how people look at this, right? Again, we talk about where a lot of people are coming to our space from, again, being kind of a hobby crafter. So when you're in that mode and you're testing and you're trying to make something cool and nice. You're making one thing and then you're doing something else, and you're coming back, you're making this thing, and you're never really in production mode, right? And so being a business is about kind of making what you do repeatable and then efficient enough that you can exchange your expertise for value, right? So I know you're super huge into kind of understanding this stuff, and you've even, I always joke that you've wrote the book about it, because you have
a real book,
an actual book that you could put your hands on. In fact, you go to Amazon, you look up Terry Combs, you'll find it. What's it called? It's Scheduling
and Estimating Production Time.
Yes, absolutely.
For garment screen printer. Yeah.
So before I let you loose, I'm going to make one other quick comment here. Terry is going to be joining our success group in October as a guest speaker, as a guest trainer. And you were actually going to be talking about this very topic. So
exactly right.
let's hear it. Let's get a preview here.
Well, the point that I put down here was know how much actual production time you really have, and especially if you're wearing all the hats. So when I go into a big production shop, the production time there is basically all the time during the workday where we are. So those operators can be decorating or doing whatever, like 38 and a half hours per week on a regular week. Yeah. Taking out the break times. But if I'm doing everything myself, maybe that production time is half that. There's direct production time and there's indirect production time. Indirect production time, in my area, obviously, is screen printing. So indirect production time is outputting films, it's creating artwork, it's coding screens, it's burning screens. That's indirect. If your company's big enough, you can have somebody doing indirect production while actual direct production's being done. Yeah. But when you get started, and you say, hey, I'm going to do this full time, you're not producing goods for 40 hours. You're doing all those indirect things. So when you're calculating your costs, in my opinion anyway, you have to take all those costs and divide them out by hour, like you said, but maybe it's only 20 hours because I only have 20 hours time to produce. If this is your side gig, you might actually only have 10 hours of production time. And why do I need to know that? First of all, for my pricing. Second of all, I need to know it for scheduling. And, it's people... If you say to a customer, when do you need it? You're not scheduling production, you're juggling production. You're just moving balls around. But if you know what your available production time is, and you know how long it takes you to produce a product, and I don't mean how long you wish it took you to produce a product, because we all wish, but if you know actually how long it takes you, then you can actually make a real schedule and fill it in, and say to somebody who walks in and says, my next available time produce this product for you will be next Tuesday morning, and so Tuesday afternoon you can come and get it, and you can confidently know that, yes, I'm going to be able to do that because I understand how much production time I have. I understand what it really takes to produce that product. And by gosh, there it is on my schedule. And I've been into big production shops where they go, and earmuffs, Kim. I've told this before, but an owner telling me, and this is a $3.5 million screen printer. We pay bonuses, hundreds of dollars in bonuses to our printers every week, and we get further and further behind schedule. And those bonuses are based on exceeding their production quotas. Well, only because they were only counting the time that they were actually pulling or pushing the squeegee. They weren't counting the time where they're setting up the press and tearing down the press. And so I'm the last guy production people want to see come in the door, because, man, you think I have a legal pad? I got a clipboard and a stopwatch when I come on your production floor.
Nice. Yeah. So, and I could listen to you. Obviously you and I have been doing this for a few years, right? So there's a good chance I've heard most of these stories, but the great part is I learn something new every time. And it is really interesting when you think about this again, from that mindset, regardless of where you're at in your business. But new people for sure really struggle with this, again, because it's a whole different mindset, right? Terry, you talk about having a clipboard and a stopwatch. I mean, like, oh, I'm just doing it by myself. I don't need to. Yeah, you got to worry about that even more than the big companies, because your time is even more valuable to you because you've got much less time available to you to produce products. And so the way I always kind of give people an overview of the way you should look at this, the part of our business, right? We've got two sections of our business. We've got the part where we work on our business, right? That's the planning, the growing, the business planning, but setting procedures and the proactive kind of things. And then we've got the working in our business side of things, right? That's the production, that's the dealing with customers, that's the, putting out fires, the reactive stuff that we've got to do, right? And that part's also important. I'm not trying to belittle the working in our business side of it. That's how you make money, right? Every time the heat press opens, the shirt falls off the dryer, you've finished the last trim on the embroidery, whatever it is for you, that's when you're making money, actually. And so that part's important, but people look at those things as like the same, right? Oh, I've got to work on my business. When you're doing the working in your business part, you should take your hat, and if you have to physically do this to make it work for you, put a different hat on, right? Go from your chief's hat into your production hat, right?
Exactly.
But when you put that production hat on, think about yourself like a pit crew of a race car pit crew, right? So I always use this analogy because I think this is the way we should do it. They get everything set up in advance. They're all prepared. They know where all the tools are. They've practiced. They looked at all of the processes and go, how can we get more efficient at this? And then when the time comes to do the work, right, to produce the product, they jump over the wall. They go as fast as they possibly can, but they make sure that they do it right there. Because if they screw up, if they leave a lug nut off, they could hurt their driver, right? The car could break. So thinking about that in your production working, even with your customers, right? We want to deal with our customers, but we want to do that efficiently. Some people just, and people would think that I'm like this, but I really don't have their emails open all day and they're just replying and right. No, you've got to, okay, it's time to reply to customers. So I get in there and I'm going to town. Yeah. I want to give them all of the feelings that I can give them, but it's all of that stuff. I think you need to look at it in that light. In how can I be more efficient at this, yet still do a really good job at it? So
right, exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hit a couple. I know we're running towards the end here, but I think we're doing pretty good. Let's hit a couple of our regulators. Had some comments along the way about some other things that we talked about a little bit earlier. Yosta says, if you're fully booked, you are too cheap. I think that's a really good, because I think there's a good point in there too. A, that's a good point. B, sometimes people I've talked about the folks that just feel overwhelmed but yet they don't feel like they're successful. They're not making it. The easiest way to get your time back, I think, Kim, it's okay. I'm not going to retell the story, but right, that telling somebody that they've got to double their prices, right? They're horrified. But if you really think about it, if they go, well, what would happen if you doubled your prices? Well, I lose half my customers. Okay.
So right? You're going to do half the work for the same money. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that.
Sign me up. Right? I mean, that's a scary thing. Are you going to lose half? Or are you going to lose all? You don't know that. So I'm not saying go out and double your prices, but again, like Yosta said, if you're fully booked, you're probably too cheap, right? You should be kind of working to get the stuff in. And I almost look at pricing sometimes as a little bit of a faucet, right? Okay. Well, I mean, just thinking back on some of my time with some of the companies that I did pricing for, it's like, okay, well, things are a little bit slow right now. What's going on? Well, let's turn up the volume, do a discount, do some a little bit heavier marketing, kind of look at where we could tighten up our pricing. And then all of a sudden you get busy again. And then, okay, well, we're really busy and we're having a hard time keeping inventory or whatever, right? Okay, prices go back up. But I'm not saying that you should just always scale your prices, but if you're not regularly looking, especially in today's world with the inflation and challenges with getting stuff, and so stuff's getting more expensive to get, most of the folks inside of our success group are checking their pricing quarterly, if not twice a year at least, right? So if you're only doing it once a year, today I'd quarterly go, am I still okay, right? But you got to do the work to know your numbers first, right? So yeah, so that pricing is really, sorry, Terry, I'm taking over. Anything you want to share about that?
No. I was just going to comment that there's a manufacturer that I was speaking to this past year, and he told me that he said I haven't raised my prices in 7 years. He's had 3 price increases in the past year because of his costs going up. He could have. Well, when he said I haven't raised my prices in 7 years, it made me kind of think, well, you probably haven't been looking very closely, but he could have coasted right into bankruptcy by not reviewing what his costs were.
Yeah. And I think that's another interesting quick point that we can make, Terry, is that going out of business is actually harder than you think, right? I mean, I've known companies that have been on the verge of going out of business and they've just held on, but they didn't make the necessary changes. And so they finally get there. So you can, like you said, coast right into going out of business and not even know it until the boat's overflowing and you can't dig out fast enough, right? So
yeah. Well, and Aaron, you remember in 2008 when we had the economy downturn, and I remember you and I talking about this, and the companies that went out of business, all those companies that went out of business, for the most part, were already hanging by a thread. They just didn't know it. They were so volatile that when that economic downturn hit, they just had no place to turn. COVID was the same situation. There were companies that went out of business, and there were other companies that regrouped and found a way to maintain. And an example is Equipment Zone. All of a sudden there weren't any trade shows, and we, you and I have been road warriors at trade shows, and we had no place to go and say, hey, here's our product. So what did we do? We were already set up to do webinars and things like that. But we set up studios in both our locations. So we started doing 2 webinars a week, and not, hey, buy our product, but educational webinars. And honestly, Equipment Zone didn't skip a beat during COVID. In fact, we had some months where sales just skyrocketed, and it was all based on, okay, what are we going to do now? How are we going to replace the way that we market our product? And everybody needs to be prepared for that kind of thing, because guess what? COVID isn't going to be the only thing that trips us up over the next 10, 20 years of your business.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you brought up that conversation that we had back in 2008. I remember that was in a lot of ways probably a bit of the seed starting to form for, starting our success group, because like you said, those businesses that were kind of already hanging on by a string, that was the straw that broke the camel's back finally, that economic downturn. But the other side of it, like you said, lots of people also though thrived even in different situations. And so it was kind of like, okay, what makes those people different? And everything that I can see and everybody I've talked to, it all points to the fact that those businesses that were able to survive or even thrive, they had a foundation, right? They had all these points that we're talking about, right? They were kind of already there. They had a pricing structure. They knew their costs. They knew what they needed to do to kind of get lean when they needed to and stuff like that. And so I think for a newbie coming in, right, they haven't taken those bumps yet. And, and a big bump comes along, it's gonna hurt. So if we can kind of help them build a foundation where they have all that information, then you can pivot. Then you can do things like you said. You guys are already building into that thing, and you were able to just kind of roll it out. But that was because, right, you knew you were already growing. You knew where you were heading. So
right,
Good stuff there. All right. Dean mentions a little bit earlier, says new people also forget to add profit for the company. That was when we were talking about paying yourself and stuff like that. Yeah. So the point, and to Dean's point, Dean's part of our Masters of Success program at our success group. So, and he came to this with a lot of it already. And so it was really cool to kind of match things up with what Dean's doing too. But when we talked about that guardrail a little bit earlier, Terry, where we're paying ourselves and we're planning for the future, well, that's to pay ourselves to cover our personal bills. It's not to buy the vacation home, right? The buy the vacation home, give back to your community, the share profit with your employees, stuff like that. That comes from the profit that you add. So like I said, if you break even, you're still going to be okay. But what you really want to do is you want to be making profit. Profit's not a dirty word.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many new people I've talked to, when you say the word profit, they cringe a little bit. It's like, why? Right? That's the lifeblood of business. That's how you can give back to your community. That's how you're going to be successful. And if your customers don't want you to make a profit, then you need to find new customers. Your customers should want you to make a profit just as much as you want them to be successful with your product.
And as you add employees and even contractors you're working with, your company being profitable and successful, you suddenly have a responsibility to those people for their livelihood as well. So it's not just for you; it's for all those people that hitch their wagon to your star.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. And then Eric said, people rarely think of opportunity costs in all of this, right? And that's what we're talking about in a lot of this, right? That opportunity cost. Awesome. Let's see here. All right. I do like this comment from Mike. He says, you might lose half your customers, but it's most likely the ones who price shop anyways, right? And so I kind of like that that comment, because the other side of that too is, if you lose half your customers in that price increase, not only are you losing the ones who price shop anyways, but more than likely you're also losing the ones that you don't really enjoy doing business with.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, when I started my screen printing business right out of college, my pricing was based on, I have a degree in journalism and I don't know where to start. And a year later, I had twins. So guess what? I had to get real serious about this business that I had started, and I raised my prices and I lost some customers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I lost maybe 20% of my customers. But I certainly more than made up for it with the price increase, and had at that point became a legitimate business. And the sooner you do that, the better, because that day that you decide, hey, I'm going to go start doing this full time, is not the day that you want to say, oh, and I'm doubling my prices because now I have to make a living. Start now, not when you have to do it.
Yeah. And as much as we're talking about price increases, it's still never easy, right? But it sometimes it's got to be done. So like you said, why do that to yourself, right?
Right.
Plan ahead. I love it. All right, a couple more comments, Terry, and then we can get into the 5 things here. Kristen says, I learned that my existing customers roll with price changes because they know that they can trust me to do good work and deliver on time, just like on Terry's headstone. I might lose out on some new customers buying on price, which at the end of the day, again, customers buying on price, rarely the type of customers that you want to work with, right? So, all right. And then Mike has got another comment. I think it's another great comment from Mike. Thank you, Mike. I had a guy question my minimum $20 invoice for a single left chest name drop. He said it should be $5. I said, sorry, that's the way it is. People often don't stand their ground when it comes to pricing. My price list doesn't have to be negotiable, right? Yep. That's a really good point, right? Sometimes the best thing that you can say to somebody that's concerned about your pricing when they ask, well, can you do it for this? Say no. And that's a complete sentence, because here's what's going to happen, right? They may find somebody that'll do it for that, but there's a reason why they came to you to begin with. And so when they come back and the next time it's $25, right? So stand your ground. I know it's hard.
The person who says sharpen your pencil, here's the price. It's published.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. And so, Terry, anything else that we missed there? I know we're into bonus time, but
no, I think we touched on a lot of areas there, and yeah, I think we're good to move to 5 things, I believe.
Yeah, and to do 5 things. This is by our own Eric Campbell. So before we bring Eric in here, but Eric, you can mosey on in whenever you're ready. But let me speak to all you regulators here real quick. Let me put something out there for you. We really, and I don't know, who knows if 5 things has done what we wanted it to yet, but it will, right? It's getting information out there. We need you guys to participate, right? So if you'll go to tworegularguys.com/5 things, that's the number 5 and 2, number 2, and then the number 5. Thank you, Terry. Go to that site, or go to our site, go to that page. You can send us your 5 things. Kristen's done it before. I saw Kristen in here. So Kristen gets a high five. Anything you want to talk about, right? Anything that all we need are 5 points that you think are worth kind of topics to bring up in conversation. And we share it in the 5 things. I'm still working with my VA to get some more stuff out there. So we'll start adding more out there on social media so we can continue the conversation. But the whole idea of 5 things is just to bring in a topic that, it's either fun, it's either good good to talk about, or, just, yeah, I think I covered it. I don't need to have 3. It's fun or good to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Anything else that 5 things should be today?
It's 5 bullet points, five things to stimulate thought and conversation. So, and here's some perfect, Eric's going to share a perfect example with us today.
Totally. And so we'll get Eric in here in 1 second to share his 5 things. And so just one last encouragement for everybody. It's down there at the bottom of the screen for those of you watching live. If you're listening on the podcast version, again, go to 2regularguys/5 things. And you can, if you really want to too, you can come and join us, right? Here's another cool part about it. When we post this stuff on our webpage, and if you've given us your business page, your URL, your website, right? We actually link your business website into the 5 things section on our website. And therefore you're going to get search engine optimization, because you've got a site and we get quite a few visitors. So you get a site that's got quite a few visitors linking back to your site. So there's also that. So I'm trying to sell this here, Terry.
It's mutually beneficial.
Yes, indeed. All right. I think I've stalled long enough. Eric, come on in, sir, if you are ready.
Right.
And I'm going to still make you push the buttons because my setup's not great here.
Hey, not a problem. I can push buttons.
Right.
I'm sure you guys both know very well that I can push buttons. But
Yeah, that's right.
I based my career on that. Oh, not physical buttons. No.
Hey, you're the talent. We just have to have you around, man. All right, with that, let's get into 5 things. See, I have to push buttons for myself too, folks. But we'll get this together. So this is my 5 things for today, and these are 5 habits crucial for home-based business people. Now, there's a lot of habits that are crucial for home-based business people. It's a lot more than 5 things, but these are 5 things that I've noticed a lot of people have trouble with, especially when we talk about people in that prosumer market who are coming up kind of from the home craft market. They're coming up, they're just starting to work out of their homes. That's what I mean by home-based business people. They tend to have some of the same problems. So number 1, I'm going to say this: set a public schedule. You don't want people trying to show up, especially if you're at a home-based business and you are allowing people to show up and pick up things at your home. Some people also like to have other spaces to do pickups, drop-offs, things like that, or do their own deliveries, which is another great option for that. But no matter what you're doing, set a public schedule and let people know. The last thing you want is the 3 a.m. t-shirt call. Trust me, I've heard the complaints. People do that. You need to make sure people know what your hours are for the public. But also set a private schedule for yourself. You are going to need time off. And this is something that I know I don't do well. I'm sure that Aaron can speak to this too, because he's in the same boat. When you live close to your office, when you can walk to your office from your kitchen, then frankly, you're always on, you're always working. Make sure you set some time in the private schedule when you are not on, because you need that time to recharge. Otherwise, you're cruising for burnout. Next thing though, create professional space wherever you can. Now, not everybody is going to be able to have a third bedroom or a shop or somewhere else that you can set up. If you can, it's awesome. If you can't, if you're working in mixed space, even so much as just saying before you start a shift of working to stop, set up the table or desk you're working at, get everything in order, and say, all right, here, this space right now is where I'm working. If you can, get a closed door between you and your family. Yes, I know this sounds awful, but sometimes it is the only way to make sure people know I'm on right now. I'm on the clock. I am doing work. It's not time to get interrupted by 15 other things. If I were off working a 9 to 5, I wouldn't be here. It's okay to say that and to make that time sacred the same way I want you to make your personal time sacred. Next thing is set boundaries. And I know it seems like everything I've said up until this point is setting boundaries, absolutely, but I'm repeating it again because it's so important. Not just with your schedule, not with everything else that's going on as far as your space. Everything you're doing, you need to make sure there are clear boundaries between business time, private time, also business work and private work. The other thing you're going to find as a home-based business, people may not take you seriously about this stuff, and they might try and get in on your time, get in on your work, or ask for a lot of discounts, treat you like it's still a hobby when you're working to make it a business. People who respect the business that you're doing are going to respect your pricing, are going to respect your work, and are not going to infringe on that. Set your boundaries early, and it leads to number 5, and this is the big one: own your professionalism. The instant you start doing this seriously, you take your time to make this a business, the instant you're actually charging for your work and you're doing it well, you are a professional right now. The work you're doing, if it's being paid for, is worth what it was contracted at. You need to own that professionalism. And here's the other thing: act like a business. You don't have to apologize for yourself being home based. You don't have to apologize for yourself as a startup. Act like the business you want to be. And let me tell you this: when you're online and that's your primary vector of sales, when you're delivering yourself, nobody knows where your shop is or how big it is. What they do know is whether or not, like Terry says, did you get things done on time and did you do good work? And if you do that, you're a professional. Own that professionalism, be the business you want to be. And like I said, set some boundaries, folks. And that's my 5 things.
I love it.
Look at that. Great 5 things. Do a little round of applause. There. I love it.
That's someone back there.
Boy, Eric. Good. All right. Excellent. Eric, thank you so much, sir. That is fantastic. So see how easy that is, guys? Just jump on in there. We won't make you push the buttons. Eric will even do it for you. So
yeah, if you want me to push the buttons, you want me to read this for you, hey, those are all options. Go to that page and see multiple options for you to get in on 5 things.
But hey, Eric, while you're here, do you want to talk about what you have coming up?
You know what? I actually could. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and it is off script because I forgot to update my own outline for the stuff that's going on today. But I'm just going to let you guys know today we always have the take up. So 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, it is the take up. Today we are talking about digitizing decisions. So the kind of decisions we make about stitch types, about shapes, about drawing. But we're doing it via something that I've drawn and made a lot. With spooky season on the way and everybody already buying Halloween stuff, I thought I would share with you on an actual theme, and that is skulls. For some reason in my career, I have digitized I think literally 100 skulls, maybe more. And so I thought, hey, let's take the same kind of object over and over in different positions, different colorways, different styles, and show you how I made decisions about it. So if you like spooky stitches and you want to watch me talk about breaking design down, or you're somebody who likes skulls, drawn skulls, you were the kid who drew those on your notebook, then jump in for my spooky stitches today, and I'm going to talk to you guys all about making decisions with stitch type, texture, and stuff like that. So that's going on later, and you can find that
that's a new nickname, man. Eric Rob Zombie Campbell.
That was not my very first concert ever. Was 18 years old. I went to Rob Zombie and Quarter, my very first big arena concert. Let me say, I did a bunch of little local stuff in high school, but
and that's where the skulls Rob come Zombie, from. You didn't even know it.
Hey, I may look like this now, but don't assume that I looked like this my whole life, guys. All right, so yeah, check in for the take up tonight.
Awesome. Eric, anything else going on over there?
Nope, that is mostly it. We got the half. We have like the usual stuff we have today. So half is going on. So right after this, Aaron and I will get together and do the half. So that's the other thing we have going. But other than that, I am good to go.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
All right. Super.
Terry, what about you? What's coming up?
Well, my next complete screen printing business course in Phoenix at Workhorse Products is sold out. That's September 25th and 26th. You can sign up for the December 10th and 11th class, and we've already got folks signing up for that one. No better place to be in December than Phoenix, Arizona. So that same class at Equipment Zone in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, in the New York City area is October 29th and 30th. And my screen printing class in Chicago with Atlas Screen Supply is November 5th and 6th, and there's only a few seats left for that class. Equipment Zone's DTG DTF training camp in Tempe, Arizona is next week on Friday, September 23rd, and you can sign up for that at equipmentzone.com. September 30th, I'll be at Impressions Expo in Fort Worth presenting how to make a living as a full-time decorator. And then 2 days later, on October 2nd, in Fort Worth, I'm doing training and motivating the best production staff in town. Nice. And I am starting to fill my 2023 schedule, Aaron, with my screen printing classes. So
you open it up?
It's actually on my website. It's not on a legal pad. but I do have
But you opened your Amazon package for the Big Book of Travel. Yeah, there
I did. There it is. Right. 2023 hard copy.
All right, well, check that out. TerryCombs.com.
I'm going to break in for one more thing because I forgot to do one more promo. Aaron was trying to lead me in and I forgot to say it. I'm going to be at Impressions Expo too. So when you're out there seeing Terry, if you're there one day early, come see my small run patches class. And that's the long small run patch class. That's like the 3-hour class. And then there'll be editing for non-digitizers. So if you haven't seen me this year, your last chance is to see me and Terry. I mean, Terry's important too. Over at Impressions Expo. So impressionsexpo.com, terrycombs.com. Come see both of us.
Yeah, Aaron was doing a little nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else you want to tell us. Nothing at all.
Just wanted to make sure, just wanted to make sure. All right. Real quick for me. Obviously I'm here in Charlotte, so I will be here for the next 2 days. Come to booth 428 if you're anywhere near Charlotte, and just tell them Aaron sent you. They'll let you in. No, I don't know that to actually be true. Please don't do that. Get me in trouble. So yeah, come on out and check me out down there, hanging out, and we'll be hanging out with the influencers and stuff like that here this afternoon. So looking forward to that. Getting home on Saturday, taking off for Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Yeah, I think I've got that wrong. Wherever Myrtle Beach. Yeah, thank you, Terry. Heading to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And that's happening the 22nd through the 24th, the Everything Embroidery Market. If you go to everythingembroiderymarket.com is probably easiest. Here's the deal, guys. Everything Embroidery Market, it's not just embroidery. There's going to be white toner stuff there. There's going to be sublimation there. There's going to be transfer people there. So Corel Trainer guys are going to be there. Magic Touch going to be there. So this is a great show happening. I will be teaching 3 classes on the 24th, September 24th. First one is Pricing for Profit and Confidence. The second one is Keys to Starting a Successful Product Decorating Business. And the third one is Finding Your Customers to Stand Out in a Crowd. And actually, before we get started that day with the classes, I get to be part of a vendor panel with some really cool people. Stephanie Young from Caesar and the guys from sewingmachine.com and the folks that are putting on EEM. So always great. And they've got donuts. So I go for the coffee and donuts too. So check that out. Again, go to Everything Embroidery Market for that. I'm hoping to see you guys there. Then getting excited for Printing United. We had Josh on and all those, and Cassie, and some of the cool stuff that's happening. And I think they were able to dispel a lot of the myths about the educational side of things there in that program. So October 19th through the 21st out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Terry, you're going to be there, right?
Oh, yes. Equipment Zone has a booth, and so I'll be kind of going back and forth.
Yep, exactly. We're still efforting on Eric, so I won't put it on him, but definitely the 2 regular guys will be there, and then the guy who really makes the show work, we'll see. And then let's see here. Last but not least, I'll just wrap this up here, guys. October 28th and 29th, I've got Growing Your Business Effortlessly workshop. So if you'll just go over to oursuccessgroup.com/grow, you can get more information on that. I'll talk more about that as we get a little bit closer. So, all right, Terry, we gotta get to the half here. So, awesome show today. Thank you for putting that all together and doing such a great job. And thanks to my internet for holding out.
Yeah, absolutely. We also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for pushing all the buttons, coming on and doing 5 things, and coming on twice to tell us what he's got coming up.
Indeed. So good to see Eric. And so Terry, you're going to be gone again next week. You're a busy guy, man. The Terry's book of travel is full again. I like it. So he's going to be out at Equipment Zone teaching DTF training camp in Tempe. So you're going into the office there for that. So Eric will be back, and Eric and I will be talking to Nicole Rollander about marketing through great copy. So this is going to be a fantastic. If you don't know who Nicole is, she's formerly with ASI and just a fantastic copywriter and a fantastic marketer and just a fantastic person. And so we're going to get a chance to talk to her next week, Terry. So you'll have to watch the show after you get done with the DTF Academy.
I'm a copywriting guy, so I will definitely do that. So, but until then, Aaron, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And we are the 2 regular guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to 2 Regular Guys. Check out our website at 2regularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/2regularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, 2regularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.